American built. We're here to celebrate the great American culture, our love affair with the great American road machines, and of course, the freedom of the open road. So join me. I'm your host, Reese King. It's time, brothers and sisters, to get free. We're here just north of Sun Valley, Idaho, in the shadow of the beautiful Sawtooth Mountains. This view certainly explains why Idaho has one of the highest number per capita of motorcycle riders in the United States of America. The Sawtooth Basin is bordered by 3 mountain ranges with 40 peaks over 10,000 feet and 300 high lakes. Streams flowing from the Sawtooth Mountains merge in the valley to form the Salmon River, the legendary river of no return. Speaking of 100 years ago, this pilot episode of American Built will be featuring great road machines from 3 American manufacturers: Ford Motor Company, Buick Motor Company, and the Harley-Davidson Motorcycle Company. All 3 of these legendary American vehicle manufacturers are celebrating their 100th anniversaries in 2003. I'm excited for you to meet our next guest, Ron Yonke. He is the gunslingingest, Harley-ridingest, way out westingest kind of guy who's got an awesome collection that we're going to show you. He's getting ready to take me for a ride in his 1936 Harley-Davidson sidecar.
Reese girl, get in here. We're going to go for a ride in a 1907 Model N Ford.
Well, hello there. Hey, Tex, I thought you were going to be driving a 36 Harley-Davidson.
Just get in this thing. We're going for a ride. And since you're celebrating the 100-year Ford, we thought we'd just get this thing first and go for a ride. Are you ready?
Well, put the pedal to the metal and let's go.
My dad started collecting K steam engines back when I was probably 15, 18 years old. We collected a half a dozen of those. Then we started collecting Model Ts, and after the Model Ts, the Model As. One of the earlier ones I picked up was a 24 Buick touring car. I've still got it in my collection. I actually got married in that thing, and I've been married 44 years, so it dates back quite a ways. One thing just kind of led to another, and people would call us up, and I'd say, sure, I'm interested. You know, the price was right, I'd buy it. And next thing I knew, I had a fairly good sized collection.
Across that river, I'm gonna catch tomorrow night. I'm gonna live forever.
Well, I love riding in this old 1907 Ford, but have you got something else with a little more power in it?
Hey, Reese girl, will this 1-ton flatbed heavy-duty Ford work for you to go for a little ride?
Well, I do believe this thing will provide us with enough power. So the 1942 on the side of the truck, the Yonke Fabrication Machine Shop, is this a family vehicle?
Yes, you know, it started out there at the machine shop. We purchased it. It was a used truck, and we did a lot of hauling with it. And we had a ranch at the same time, so we used it for hauling hay and just an all-purpose truck. We sold it, and I knew the guy we sold it to, so about 10 years after we sold it to him, I got thinking, you know, that'd be nice to keep that in the company, you know, just for a souvenir. So I called him. He said, sure, I still got it parked out back. I'm not using it anymore. So I bought it back. And then we went completely through it and restored the whole thing. We had a guy working for us by the name of Jim Ball down at the machine shop. And he probably spent 6 months' time on it and just, you know, made it better than ever.
So there's got to be some story somewhere along the line about all these hot rods being chick magnets.
Well, you know, this one wasn't as pretty as it should have been, but I used to drive it. It's the only vehicle we had. So when I was in my 20s, I drove it down to Murray's Drive-In in Boise there and would wave at all the chicks and offer them a ride. And this one gal said, sure, I'll go for a ride with you. Her name was Linda, and I courted her for 3-4 years. And by golly, I ended up marrying her. She puts up with me, so that's pretty good.
How great is that? Well, you finally showed up with the 36 Harley-Davidson. I'm ready to go for a ride, brother.
We'll put this down in case the weather's bad, or do I want that up?
Tear it up, McQueen. How did you acquire this old 36 Harley sidecar?
Well, you know, a good friend of mine knew about an auction that was taking place back in Minneapolis We flew back to Minneapolis, and we ended up with 14 of them that day.
14?
14 motorcycles, yes.
Holy cow.
Oh, I just love sidecars. When this one came up there, I knew I wanted it. I've had a lot of fun with it. You can put somebody in the sidecar like yourself, talk to them and have a good time, and put another passenger on behind you if you want. I'm always fascinated by sidecars, so I really enjoy them.
I want to ask you your secret of life.
Well, you know, you work hard, you play hard, and you got to get out once in a while and just have a good time. You jump on these Harleys and go. I mean, this one maybe only go 50, 55 miles an hour, but get on one to do 85 to 100. You just really live free. Open it up.
Freeway moving through your soul. And if you want to get there, you're gonna have to fly there. On the seat of a big old Harley going down the road. And the road is a bloodline leading to the gold mine. Somewhere in the heart of the USA. And if you never find it, you know you won't mind it. Because we're gonna have a good time all along the way. She's a queen of the red hot mama. Hottest.
Yeah, lady, that is one nice piece of chrome and steel you're driving. Mind if I jump in and take a ride with you? Sure, hop in. Well, now listen. In this show, there's no compensation for stunts. So why don't you find a safe place to pull over and I'll jump in with you?
No guts, no glory. Let's see what you can do.
All right.
Hottest time in town. A friend of a friend of a friend of mine.
How's that for guts and glory?
Not bad, lady.
Well, now that I got my adrenaline fix in, let's talk about what kickstarts your engine every day.
I grew up on a farm in Minnesota, and we had Harley Bajas that we rode the fence lines with. We had this blue Harley-Davidson scooter that we used to jump manure piles with, which was absolutely fantastic.
Right on.
When I was 8 years old, my father gave me a car, and I had 4 brothers, and we would go out to the North 40, and my dad built a racetrack for us. So each of us had a car that we would race around out in the middle of the field. It was absolutely fantastic.
I'll tell you what, I was born on a bike. My dad took my mom to the hospital on a motorcycle to give birth to me. That's how much I've been bitten by the adrenaline junkie bug. You are a speed junkie from way back. No kidding.
If I'm not out playing hockey, I love to fly my airplanes in the mountains of Idaho. I've also raced airplanes. Another thing that I'd really love to do is I love riding my 1973 Harley Shovelhead to a favorite breakfast spot.
Oh, behave, baby. This girl just wants to have fun. You do. Hey, speaking of fast cars, yeah, it looks like you're cresting the 100-mile-an-hour speed limit there, sister. We better slow this thing down. Hey, Don, what is your secret of life?
The secret of life is to appreciate all of God's blessings and to pray that your guardian angel flies faster than you do.
Well, this is one gorgeous ride, girl.
Well, Reese, we're driving a 1958 Buick Special.
157, 158, 159. Wait a minute. I thought, oh, this is the famous 160 square Dynastar grill on this 58 Buick, isn't it?
They called this car the Flying Wing after the B-58 bomber.
Nice.
The car actually came with a 350 cubic inch engine and 250 horsepower, but after Dean Johnson got through with it, we now have a 300 horsepower engine. There were only 44,000 of these made in 1958. This Buick Special was made in an era when bulking up cars was a big deal. There's more chrome, and this has the heaviest bumper of any mass-produced automobile in America. I say we jump in this special, get free on the open road, and I'm ready for you to take me for a ride, girl.
She's a hell of a heavenly ball of fire, the hottest thing in town.
In every episode of American Built, we're going to feature a segment called Tony's Tips. Air Design Custom Choppers is home to Master Tony Applegate and his unrivaled talents to airbrush, fabricate, and twist steel like few before him. As quoted in Thunder Press, hot rods in Spudsville. Here's Tony.
Hi, welcome to Tony's Tips. I'm Tony from Air Design. Today we want to talk a little bit about concept bikes and how we go from paper to reality. This particular animal was on the cover of Hot Rod Bikes, so come on back, take a look at how we do it. First thing we like to do when we sit down with a client is do a rendering of the bike, of how it's actually going to come off all as one piece. From there, our first option is, he's a great big guy, so we want to get a frame that's big enough to fit his ass. So from here we pick a frame, we do a lot of tin work. You know, as we do our drawings, we get our tin, everything going. From there we want to get a motor like this guy here. We went with a blown 120-inch Merc so he doesn't sign up second to the bar. From there we get wheels going, we build our seats, we get everything so it looks somewhat like the rendering that we've done. All right, after we've got all our metal work done, everything fits right and looks right, we get our seat off to being covered, our pipes, everything, all the little pieces off being chromed. We start our body work. From there we do what we call a test panel. The first one we did was, the bike was in orange when it was on the cover of the magazine. We run that for a year or so. From there, this time we livened it up a little bit. Most people like a masked out flame. We wanted a real loose, real wild looking burning flame, so we did this. So I think it turned out real well. So hope you like it. Thanks for having us over, and we'll see you next time.
What's going on, man?
Not much, just enjoying the view of the Sawtooth. You know, it's really peaceful up here.
It is pretty nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pretty incredible view. So I'm interested in finding out more about the tours of duty. You're the only 3-time war veteran that I've ever known, and I would really like to know what made you volunteer.
It all started in Vietnam. I was with the 1st Infantry Division, and I ended up volunteering to be a LRP.
What is a LRP?
Well, what it stands for Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol, and they were 6-man teams that went out to try and gather intelligence. It was somewhat unconventional warfare. I also ended up jumping into Panama with the 1st Ranger Battalion and going to Desert Storm with the 1st Ranger Battalion also. I also flew A6s and F-111s, so I was very fortunate. But you know, you asked me about volunteering, and freedom isn't free. We pay for it dearly, and we can't forget those guys who paid the ultimate price. We have to honor them. We have to remember those folks, both those who came back and those who didn't come back.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. I feel that the heroes should be honored. They should be remembered.
Well, those of us who went we don't consider ourselves heroes. The heroes are the guys who got injured, came back, or the guys who didn't come back. And that's why I built that bike and put the names Gerald Sievers, Tony Petricca, and Tom McGavie on there. They're my heroes.
Well, I guess that pretty much explains the custom paint on the 88 Springer then.
Yeah, it does. You want to go take a look at it?
I'd love to. What's the history of this bike? Where did it come from?
Well, I bought the bike in Savannah, Georgia when I retired from the military, 1st Ranger Battalion. I brought it back to the Northwest. And in 1998, I had Tony Applegate from Air Design do this custom paint job in honor of the people who had served in Vietnam.
It's a very personal paint job. I would love it if you would talk to me about the artwork and what the meaning behind it.
I'd love to. Up here on the front fender, what I have is a replica of a tattoo that I have on my right shoulder.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's that
Oh
one.
my.
Right. And on the back fender, what I have is a replica of a World War II vet. And you can see he's got the tear running down his eye. If you'll notice here on the oil tank, what I've got, this is a replica of a Huey and Air Assault, and it wraps around with various smaller helicopters coming to the other side. But any grunt who was in Vietnam could certainly relate to that, because that's how we got from place to place. On this side of the tank, I have a replica of what's called the Three Soldiers at the Vietnam War Memorial. Okay, and on the other side, what I've got is almost identical to the wall, except we added a combat boot that was used in Vietnam. You know, these guys, all of them, were only 18, 19 years old when they died over there. They didn't have a chance to live life. Myself, I've had a very good life, and this is my way of just showing them that I respect them and honor them, and when I feel like it, I get on the bike and let these guys have the opportunity to ride that they never had.
taking up the whole road. Can't you make room for the 35 Cabriolet?
Well, the question is, can you make room in that red buggy for the host of American Built?
Sure, hop on in.
Well, I'm not doing that stunt again, so let's find a nice, safe place to pull over and I'll hop in with you.
All right, let's head back to the Redfish Lake Lodge then.
I'm right behind you.
All right.
Well, hey there.
Hey.
Partner, Reese King, American Built. How you doing?
Jack Brook, collector of old Ford fat bodies.
Good. So you're an old Ford fat body guy, huh?
That's right. I like these old Ford fat bodies. They're the ones to collect.
Why this particular era of Fords? What's your fascination with the 35?
These little Fords here, when they came out, were the most roomy cars that the 35s were at the time. And oh man, they only cost, I think, $400 when they came out.
No kidding.
But the 35s, that year was the year of the fat-bodied Fords, and when they came out, the Ford Motor Company sold more cars that year than any other automaker around at that time.
So how about some personal history on this particular red 35 Cabriolet? What is the story about this vehicle?
Oh man, this little car here was just 2 miles down the road. I couldn't believe it when I heard about it. A friend of mine, Galen Blank, bought this car. He took it to his shop and he said, "Jack, you want to buy this car?" And I said, "You bet." And I went and got it, took it to my shop, and this is the end result, and I couldn't be tickled more to have this car right now.
No kidding. Well, so now it looks like this is your little resto rod then. This is not something that you hired somebody to restore for you. This is Jack Brook's labor of love from the get-go.
Jack Brook touched this car and massaged every nut and bolt. This car has plenty of power. It's a 355 horse, aluminum head motor, and if it had any more power, where convertible is built, right now they'll almost twist it just a little bit when you take off. We drank a few beers working on the fender here and there.
Sure you did.
Oh man, like take for instance this wire wheel.
That is
This is the
beautiful.
last of these kind of wire wheels that came on these old Fords, and all the old trinkets that were on the old Ford were really neat. Man, they got some neat stuff on them, and you just can't replace that neatness on these old Fords.
Well, it sure is gorgeous, and I'm thinking on that note, it is time to get out on the open road and get free in this thing, brother. So what do you think? Well, now, hold on there, Texas. It's a well-known fact that the host of American Built gives her interviews from behind the wheel.
So what?
Well, so then let little Miss Daisy jump in and take you on a get-free ride.
Okay, little Miss Daisy, let's fire this mother up and let's go down the road.
Taking you out on the open road, it is time to get free.
Let's move on.
Well, Jackson, I don't want to get too personal on you, but I do want to ask you what your secret of life is.
Well, the secret life to me is great family, good friends, big cheeseburger.
Well, by God, I think we can make one of those dreams come true anyway.
All right, sounds good to me.
And I know a great place to get a cheeseburger, so.
Thanks for joining us. You've been watching the pilot show for American Built. We're here to share stories about the greatest American-built road machines you've ever seen. You know, there's something about the way out west that sets your spirit free, and American Built will be filmed in some of the most beautiful landscapes in America. As we like to say at American Built, get free. Give me the peace and the love, baby.
You're gonna have to ride there on the seat of a big old Harley going down the road. It's the spirit of the highway, looking for a good day, riding down the freeway.